Today, we're going to dive into the world of delay. Ooh, that rhymed. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different ways in which you can use delays for some creative purposes. So let's jump in. So the first one is the one that everyone should know about, and that's delay time modulation. It's that squelchy, weird repitching effect that happens when we actually change the delay time of something whilst the delays are being repeated. So let's just go and I'm just going to hit play here on these sort of dub stabs that I've programmed in here. So I'm going to take one of these stabs here. It sounds like this. As a note gets played, we can actually automate or move this around, and it's sort of going to give us a slowing and speeding up sort of squelching, repitching effect. So my favorite way to do this is actually make sure this automation arm is off, and I'm actually going to make an audio track, and then I'm going to turn this onto resampling mode and arm it, and then I'm just going to hit record. So I've actually mapped record to a key on my keyboard, and then just keep doing this. Oh. Damn. So these modes actually determine what happens when you modulate this delay time. So if I'm in fade mode and I do the same thing, fade mode's definitely worth trying out as well. It's not going to change the pitch of your audio, but it is going to give you some really cool stuttery artifacts. So if you're after a stuttering effect, I'd experiment around with fade. Jump is just going to jump straight to the new modulation time that you've set. It's not as good as the other two for creating these weird artifacts, so I'd probably stick to fade and repitch mode. So now with all of the audio recorded in here, you can go through and scroll and find little bits that you like. I like this. I actually think that's really cool, so I'm just going to drag that into a new track. But the idea of this is if I right-click the track and go down to show take lanes, you can actually see all of the different take lanes that I've done. So I can hit these little solo buttons and listen to them, and so I kind of find ones that I like. And the ones that you do like, you can sort of just copy and paste them or option click and drag them. You could even drag them onto the actual track up here. Maybe I like this one up here. Maybe I like this one as well. You can even hit enter, and that will put it to the top in that position. But because we've recorded them all on top of each other, it's kind of easier just to option and drag. So now I can unclick this and hide the take lanes, and we have all of these ideas to work with now. So when it comes to creative delays, time modulation is going to be your most common type effect. By the way, if you want some analog samples, there's a link in the description that takes you to a free analog sample pack. Who doesn't love free samples? It's linked down there if you want it. Return tracks allow us to get really creative with our delays, because the thing that's unique about return tracks is we're essentially duplicating the audio stream and then sending one of those duplicates just to the delay. And what this allows us to do is actually process just the delay repeats themselves. So we could put reverb just on the delay, or we could put bit reduction or erosion. There's so many different things you can do with just delay processing. Let's check this out. I've got this echo here. I've got these stabs here as well. Let's just play them with the drums as well. Why not? They're a bit dry, they need some delays, so I'm going to send that into this return track here. And then this return track here actually has an echo, and then I've got a redux just after it. So let's... So you can hear that just the delays have the bit reduction here, right? The important thing to keep in mind here is just to make sure that you're on 100% dry wet, because we want this to be just the delay effect that we're processing. Maybe let's try erosion this time. I'm going to put it onto wide noise setting. So this way we're going to add some mid-range noise to our delay repeats. So I really like that sound, adds a whole bunch of interesting texture. So just to recap what's going on, this is a different track to this one. It's essentially the exact same thing as if I was to duplicate this and then grab these devices and just drag it onto this track. We've made a separate track and we've put this echo onto 100% wet, and then we're processing just that echo. So you can get really creative with return tracks. Go have some fun with it. Next thing I wanted to mention, and I wanted to do this in a separate point just to emphasize it a little bit more, is filtered delay. So in this echo unit, we actually have a filter in here, and I actually really like this filter because you can actually boost points. And by boosting, what happens is we actually increase the feedback in that specific region. So if I was to boost at 1K here, we're going to have more repeats around the 1K area. Let's just have a listen to this. So that is a classic dub sound, a filtered delay around the 1K area. So the filter in this echo unit here is the exact same as if I went and got an EQ and put it beforehand. And essentially we can think about it in the exact same way. If I cut out some frequencies before they go into the delay, they're not going to feed back at all. So we're only going to be delaying the frequencies that are in the region which I'm allowing to pass through. So only the frequencies around this area are going to get delayed. So what you're going to notice is when I bring the filter frequency up, we're going to have more delays because we have more frequencies in this area. So this is a really cool effect because you can keep it real low and then bring it up and pull it back down, and it's going to keep delaying that movement of the filter that you've just done. One more really cool filtered delay thing that you can do is actually go get an auto filter this time. I'm going to put it into something like a bandpass mode, maybe 12 decibel per octave, and I'm actually going to put this LFO on, and what that's going to do is it's going to move it around like this, and that way we're going to have an ever-changing echo in the background. This is one of my favorite effects. So this essentially just makes the echo feel like it's changing and it's different every single time a chord stab goes through that echo unit. So there's a whole bunch of rhythmic effects that you can do with delays as well. This is a really common technique in techno music when they're creating their percussion loops. So I've got these little perks here that I just programmed in, and I'm going to play them with my drums as well. And I'm going to turn on my delay device, maybe even unlink these, and just experiment around hitting different numbers and seeing if we can create some cool rhythms. That's actually really cool there. I really like it when you bring it up to 100%. It just sort of shifts and changes the rhythm and the groove of all the hits as well. But it still works in a really nice way. Maybe we can try something like this. Oh yeah, that's nice. I like it when I bring the feedback down a bit so it's a little bit less obvious that it's being delayed. I'm going to try the same technique on these perks here as well, but this time it's a bit of a different rhythm. These sort of straighter rhythms work really well with delays as well. And let's just mess around with this delay here. I think I'm going to unsync the time over here. Maybe turn this one down a little bit. So I really like this rhythm now. It actually feels quite subtle, the effect that it's having, but it actually does have a huge effect on the stereo image, the sort of width of the sound, and also just overall making it a lot more interesting. Let's play that with my other ones. You might have noticed with delays, if you put them onto time mode and put it small enough, you can actually start to generate a tone. So you can hear that. So we can hear that sort of resonant tone. This is actually another cool way of creating sounds as well. I'm actually going to put this onto 100% wet here. I'm going to go grab a tuner now and put this tuner device just after this delay. If you turn the feedback up, it's going to make it a bit easier for the tuner to read it. So that's almost C. I think if we put this up to 15.3. So this is pretty much straight on the note C, right? Now we actually have a tone. So what I'm going to do is go grab a filter, auto filter. And now we can start shaping this tone a little bit more. This should be in key with our track because my track is in C as well. Right? I'm going to add a little bit of LFO to this filter here. What about if we add another delay after this? And I'm going to have this much slower delay, just a regular sort of dotted eighth note. And we can actually use this filter in here to shape what our sound sounds like. But that's a really cool way of sound designing as well. So the last technique I wanted to share with you is delay layers. If I grab a delay, this time I'm gonna put it on the track and put it to 100% wet. I'm actually going to make a new audio track and put it onto resampling mode and arm it. So what we have here is this track, just delays, 100% wet. And what I'm gonna do is actually hit record and wait for it to do a full pass through. Also just gonna mess around with it whilst it's doing it as well. So now I have this delay layer, which is just being completely recorded into audio. If I just solo and play that for you, it sounds like this. This extra layer of delay here just sort of adds as an atmospheric bed in which we can really modulate and play with as well. So I can just have it sit in the background if I want. Or what I could do here as well is go grab my auto filter and put it on this track and do the same thing or similar to what we did earlier in the videos where we go get a band pass and have that moving around. So let's just try this out and see how this goes. So this is a really cool effect. It has this delay layer which is just moving around and modulating the background. And so we can really modulate and mess around with this delay track as much as we want. It's a really cool textural effect. So thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me, I've set up a new Patreon account. The link's going to be in the description for that. For example, this dub rack that I've been using today and a whole bunch of other things are going to be included all in the Patreon. So feel free to check that out if you want to. Otherwise, stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.